And there we go. So, greetings, everybody, and thanks very much for attending this talk. My name is Kurt Cordes. I am the project director for Enigmatic Global and also the project lead for the Global Ambassadors Project. And as you will see, we're in this workspace called the Enigmaverse. It looks like a game. It is definitely not a game. This is a space where the ambassadors can actually come in, collaborate with each other, invite guests in for talks, and also have their own separate office, which only they have access to. So this is one of the ways that we've actually faced the pandemic over the past year, is that idea of hybrid, being online and in person at the same time. I will talk more about that. But really, this talk is not directly about the Global Ambassadors itself, although definitely we'll need to tell you a little bit about the Global Ambassadors to be able to do it, because the Global Ambassadors Project is only in its first year pilot. We're not even finished our first year yet. We're moving into our second year as of October, and the idea is to use these 2 years to really pilot and collaborate with the ambassadors to make something new and different for both international students and young people of diverse backgrounds in general in Aotearoa. So since we can't have a conclusive talk on that, but one thing that we really did face, and I know that a lot of people out there faced, was the pandemic. And the idea of starting a program like this, which is new and different and in its piloting phase, to start that in during a pandemic when, with all that uncertainty, was a bit of a thing. There are a couple of things that we faced that I can share with you, how we got through those things and how we've come, I wouldn't say out the other side because we're still in the pandemic, but how we continue on with the resilience that we've had to be able to continue to make impact and continue to show that the ambassadors are making impact as they continue. And a lot of that has to do with the ambassadors themselves. So that's the basis for the talk today. Very quickly, a little bit about me and my background. I am the designer of the Global Ambassadors Program, and that's based on some work in the past professionally. If I was to say what my focus is from an education standpoint, it's outdoor education with a lot of aquatics emphasis, which I have another talk on that. And also a little bit of TESOL in the background, well, actually quite a bit of TESOL, but focused on experiential education and transformative learning as well. And I've more recently embraced the term transformative learning, and I'm taking a deeper dive into understanding that and how design can be influenced by transformative practices and transformative learning. So that's a little bit about my professional background. Personally, I'm a little bit of a genetic mix. So my genetics come from West Africa, the island of Madeira, and northern India, all colliding in the Caribbean. And then my parents immigrated to Canada. So I have multiple nationalities and am very much a person of the world. And that term, global citizenship, is an interesting one for me because it's a little bit loaded, because I can actually change myself completely by picking up one passport and putting down the next. So I prefer the term global community. The idea that no matter who I am, no matter where I am part of my global village, my global community. And at a global level or a local level, I really should be helping my neighbor, contributing what I can to make things better. And if I was to say where my why is, that is where that is founded. The idea that we need to be able to work together across nations, across languages, cultures, disciplines, to be able to work together as a team to solve the problems we all face around the world. And that is at the core of everything I do. So that's a little bit about me and gives you a little bit about why I would be so interested in this thing called the Global Ambassadors. And this is a little bit of an experiment because it's the first time I'm using this platform for a presentation, but bear with me a bit. So a little bit, I've been doing programs like this for quite some time, and there are a lot of precursors to the Global Ambassadors Program. 1999, I was doing some work with a school ship in the Caribbean, challenging high school students to come up with new research protocols, which their instructors thought that they couldn't do, and the students proved them wrong. and came up with some great stuff that was actually used. The working holiday program is something that I worked on in Korea for a number of years. And the idea of creating a curriculum from the ground up, looking at how the young people are going to work in a global community and on global teams, and then simultaneously having a work placement where they worked with the foreign teachers from 7 different countries. So they got both sides of it from the practical sense and from the theoretical sense during the program. And I could say many of them gave the feedback that they came out different afterwards. Here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, the idea of STEMfest was piloted in 2019 to significant success. They're having their second round finally after COVID has allowed them to do it. October 2nd, I believe. If you're in the Tauranga, Western Bay area, you might want to check it out. But in 2019, I was a facilitator of the STEM Champions Project. Again, this whole idea of diverse people coming together, and with this group, a huge age range from teens to adults, and all coming together for the specific purpose of working together to create something for young people that is the future, that would really show them what STEM is going to be. So the idea of the global ambassadors was a really natural step for me, but definitely couldn't do it alone. So really, this is a partnership between Enigmatic Global, Welcoming Communities of Tauranga City Council and Western Bay of Plenty, and Education Tauranga, which falls under the collaboration of Priority One as well. So all of that is working together, and we really do work in a partnership. It's all of us sitting down, all of us working together, all of us supporting each other's programs, but really our focus and our purpose is working towards empowering these young people as global ambassadors. And then on that note, the ambassadors we consider partners. The ambassadors are right there helping us to create the program. It is not us delivering the program to them. It is empowering the ambassadors to be delivering the program as well. And one of the first things I said to the ambassadors was, and that comes from my skippering background on the water, if you're on a boat and you're the captain, you always want to get your crew to the point where you can step off your boat and not worry about your boat. And that is what I told them, and that is what the goal of the program was working towards, is where they self-organized and started doing things on their own with that strong platform underneath them, which is the program structure itself. And we didn't realize how solid a structure we would need under our feet when COVID kept coming. So we actually started our planning in March of 2021, and that was when we were at alert level 1. We planned to launch in the summer and then delayed it for a bit, but then when we were planning to launch in October, we ended up right in the thick of COVID in August of 2021 with the alert level 4. And as many of you know, especially those of you who were in Auckland, it was quite a thing. And whether we were in Auckland or not, Auckland definitely took the brunt of it. But those of us around the rest of the country, again, as you all well know, there was a whole lot of uncertainty in what would happen tomorrow. I mean, with the experience of how the level 4 happened on August of 2021, it can happen anytime. Things can change anytime. How do you actually decide to launch a project and keep it going in that kind of condition, especially when you want to be in person and you want to be actually collaborating and working together? So it was a really hard decision to actually move through, but we did make that decision. And we're still here and we're still moving. And I think there are quite a couple of things that actually helped from a resilience standpoint in how the program was designed that gave us a little bit of that platform underneath. So the idea that a little bit of my mentality and how I approach things from that experiential education background is to make things a little bit more robust than they need to, because you never know what's going to happen. And that comes a lot from the outdoor aspect. You never know what you're going to face, and you have to be able to face it when you do. So, building some redundancies, the idea of the hybrid online and in person format, you definitely want in person. And even from the ambassadors, when they didn't have in person, they really missed it. But having that online platform there and making sure that the group knows how to work online, and that's much different than the social aspect. So getting that, the idea of the actual size of the group, we purposely decided for a group of 12 because of the dynamic that that creates. You go over 12, you start changing the dynamic of the group, and you need different things in place to be able to keep the group in a cohesive way. 12 is actually a pretty good size to keep it fairly cohesive and keep it together and keep everybody supporting each other. The idea that international students and domestic students were going to work together, and that was something we decided very much early on, to support each other, but also the whole idea of the group being a diverse group and really representing Tauranga and Western Bay of Plenty in a true sense. We're still working towards that, but we're definitely, that is part of the agenda. The idea of partnership, and again, I mentioned the partnership of the program partners as well as a partnership with the ambassadors as real partners, lifting each other up and pushing each other forward. And that tagline of Stronger Together is not just a tagline. One of the main points of this project is to show that we are stronger together in everything we do. And the pandemic was one of those ways that I think this program showed the strength of being together. Very, very quickly, one of the key things that we touched on was this idea of digital safety, digital security. We were developing the program right around the time when things were hitting in the States. New information coming out that Facebook knew that it was harming young people and kind of let it go. There's a lot of talk about how social media and the safety of social media and data collection from social media. So we decided really early on that we would only use or only require students to use apps or platforms that did not collect data from them. So we do use things like Slack. We use things like Zoom, this platform that we're on right now, where we have the digital space. These are things that don't collect data from the students, that they don't have to submit anything or track data for. The students actually, or when I say students, the participants actually use other platforms, and that's absolutely fine, but they're not required to use it for this program. The only thing we encourage use is LinkedIn, and that's only to help them develop their professional platform and their professional persona, essentially. But other than that, and they're not required to use it either. This idea of we're all in the same boat, and that hit us very, very quickly when we were coming to December, and the vaccine mandates were starting to ramp up, and trying to figure out how we're going to deal with this, because at the end of the day, and whether you agree with it or don't agree with it or agree with how it was rolled out is not the discussion here. It is, we had a group of young people who were together, and vaccine mandates could change that. And how do we preserve the choice of the students of what they're going to do? Because everybody should have choice. Again, whether you agree with that or not, for the students was really important. So very early on, we decided that we're all in the same boat. We started in this Waka together, and we're going to finish in this Waka together. So we let the young people know that we were ready to deal with them, we were ready to talk to them, and we were ready to come up with solutions as best we could. And that was really important to us. And I think it was important to them, and it helped really increase the cohesion of the group going forward. So all these things building and all this resilience, we feel it paid off. The results seem to show it paid off. One of the things we did have to do is in January 2022 of this year, when Omicron started to hit, we decided very quickly we're just going online. We're going online right away because we had 6 different schools represented in our group. We could become a spreader. So we tried to do the responsible thing, but we were able to do that because we had already developed the online tools and the online capability of the group to be able to do it. And that was something incredibly important. So the pictures that you see here are just a sample of the output that we've done, from focus groups to attending things, but we made sure that the entire group wasn't attending at the same time within the COVID rules. We basically acted as widely as we could. Everything from submitting letters to ministers, it really was about impact. And we're a very impact focused group. So we're hitting those sustainable development goals. And we have a whole list of them that we've hit. And when I say we, I mean the ambassadors are hitting them. The ambassadors really started to take up that idea that they are going to be sailing the ship, and started to self-organize and started to come up with ideas of how they were going to do things on their own, and initiating projects which the others started to support. So all of this started to take off, but the platforms were there for it to happen. And even when the pandemic was hitting and we had to be online, they were still able to meet, collaborate, and talk. And I'll just end really, really quickly with this logo. This is a logo that the ambassadors created themselves. And when you look at it, you might not see everything right away, but you might be able to see the G, and you might be able to see the A. You might be able to see the Kiwi in there. But really, this was the ambassadors coming together and putting their ideas together and coming up with a synthesis of all their ideas. So that idea of stronger together becomes very, very important as well. So that's all my time, but thank you very much for listening. Happy to talk to anybody as we go forward. And again, thank you very much.